I was standing in my own kitchen, coffee in hand, when two Fort Worth patrol officers knocked on the door I'd paid the mortgage on for 11 years. "Sir, we received a call about a break-in in progress," the older officer said, hand resting near his belt, eyes scanning past me into the house. "Can you step outside and explain who you are?" "I'm Ryan Callahan," I said slowly. "I own this house. I've lived here for 11 years. "That's not what the caller told us." He glanced at his notepad. "A Diane Foster reported an unknown man had broken in through the back door of her daughter's residence." Her daughter's residence? My ex-wife hadn't lived here in 8 months. "Officer, this is my house. My name is on the deed. I can show you the paperwork right now if you'll just—" "We're gonna need you to do that," he said, not unkindly, but not moving either. "Slowly. And, sir, where's Ms. Foster's daughter? The caller said her daughter should have been home." I felt something cold settle in my stomach that had nothing to do with the two officers on my porch. "My ex-wife doesn't live here anymore," I said. "She hasn't in months. I don't know why her mother would think otherwise, or why she'd call the police on me for standing in my own kitchen." I didn't know yet that Diane Foster's call wasn't confusion. It wasn't a mistake. It was the opening move in something my ex-wife had been planning for exactly as long as she'd been gone. It took 20 minutes and a folder of documents, deed, mortgage statements, tax records, all with only my name on them, before the officers were satisfied and apologetic, climbing back into their cruiser with the particular awkwardness of men who'd nearly arrested someone in his own home. I called Diane the second they pulled out of the driveway. "Diane, it's Ryan. Someone just called the police on me for being in my own house." There was a pause, too long, too careful. "Ryan, I didn't call anyone." "The officer had your name and number, Diane." Another pause. "Sarah told me someone had broken into her place. She sounded frightened. I only did what any mother would do." "Sarah hasn't lived here in 8 months, I said, my voice rising despite myself. "She moved out in March. She knows this is my house. Why would she tell you otherwise?" Diane's silence stretched long enough that I understood, before she said another word, that something had shifted underneath this conversation that I couldn't see yet. "I have to go, Ryan," she said finally, and the line went dead before I could ask another question. I stood in my kitchen holding a phone that had just gone silent, the same kitchen two officers had nearly searched 20 minutes earlier, and felt the specific, sinking certainty that whatever Sarah was building, this was only the first piece of it. Sarah and I had been divorced for 5 months by then, a clean split, or so I'd believed, over irreconcilable differences that boiled down, honestly, to her wanting a life I couldn't give her and me being too tired to keep pretending I could. She'd moved into an apartment across town in March. I'd kept the house, which had always, on paper and in every legal document that mattered, been mine. Purchased 2 years before we ever met, refinanced solely under my name after we married because Sarah's credit had never recovered from a bankruptcy in her 20s. I hadn't thought about any of that in months. I'd been building a quiet, ordinary life, alone in a house that finally felt like it belonged to just me. That quiet ended 3 days after the police showed up, when I got a call from my attorney, a sharp, unflappable woman named Corinne Ashby who'd handled our divorce. "Ryan, I need you to sit down," she said. "Sarah's filed something." "Filed what?" "A petition claiming the house is marital property that was improperly excluded from the divorce settlement. She's alleging you concealed the refinance paperwork from her during proceedings, and that she's entitled to half its value, or occupancy rights while the claim is resolved." I sat down hard on my own kitchen stool. "Corinne, that house has been in my name since before we got married. She signed off on that in the settlement herself." "I know. I have the signed settlement right here." Corinne's voice was steady, but there was something underneath it, a warning. "But Ryan, this isn't really about the house. Not entirely. I think this is about establishing a paper trail, a pattern of you being uncooperative, difficult, maybe even unstable in the eyes of a judge. Why would she need that? Corinne went quiet for a moment. Because 2 days ago, she also filed for an emergency custody modification on Eli. Eli was 4 years old, and until that phone call, custody had never been a fight between Sarah and me. We'd agreed easily, almost gratefully, on joint custody during the divorce, both of us exhausted enough by the marriage's end to want, at minimum, peace for our son. An emergency modification, I repeated. On what grounds? The filing cites a pattern of erratic and potentially dangerous behavior, Corinne said. It references the police visit to your home 3 days ago as evidence of, quote, ongoing instability in the household. Ryan, she's using the exact incident her own mother orchestrated as proof against you. I sat with that for a long, silent moment, the pieces sliding into place with a clarity that made my hands go cold. She had Diane call the police, I said slowly, knowing exactly how it would look, knowing it would go in a file somewhere. That's a serious accusation, Ryan. It's the only thing that makes sense, Corinne. Sarah knows I own that house outright. She knows her mother knows it too. There's no version of this where Diane genuinely believed a stranger had broken into her daughter's home, because her daughter hasn't lived there in 8 months. If you're right, Corinne said carefully, we need proof of intent, not just suspicion. A judge isn't going to take my client's theory over a filed police report and a mother's sworn statement. Then let's get proof, I said, because I am not losing my son over a house Sarah already agreed, in writing, wasn't hers. I called Eli's daycare that afternoon, a small place called Bluebonnet Learning Center, where he'd gone since he was 2, and asked to speak with his lead teacher, a warm, sharp-eyed woman named Miss Patterson, who'd known both Sarah and me since before the divorce. Ryan, is everything okay? She asked. Sarah picked Eli up early today, said something about needing him for a doctor's appointment. What time? Around 1. Why? I checked my custody calendar. Today wasn't Sarah's day. It was mine. I was supposed to be picking Eli up in an hour. Miss Patterson, I need you to think carefully, I said, keeping my voice level despite the alarm rising in my chest. Has Sarah said anything unusual lately? About me, about the custody arrangement, anything at all? There was a pause, long enough that I understood she was weighing something. She asked me last week, Miss Patterson said slowly, whether we'd ever noticed you seem stressed or on edge when you pick Eli up. I told her honestly, no. You've always been calm and on time. She didn't seem happy with that answer. Has she asked anyone else the same question? I don't know, Ryan, but... She hesitated. There's something else. She asked me to start documenting drop-off and pickup times more carefully. Said it was for her records. I didn't think much of it until just now. I hung up the phone, standing in my driveway, staring at the house I'd owned for 11 years, understanding, for the first time, exactly how long Sarah had been building this, quietly, piece by piece, while I'd believed our divorce had simply ended. I drove straight to Corinne's office instead of home. She's building a file, I said, pacing in front of her desk. The daycare teacher, the police report, whatever Diane's prepared to say in an affidavit. She's constructing a version of me that doesn't exist, one witness statement at a time. Ryan, I need you to slow down and think clearly, because panicking is exactly what she wants a judge to see if this goes to a hearing. Corinne folded her hands. What we need is documentation of our own, proof of your actual routine, your actual stability, and ideally, proof of her intent behind all of this. How do I prove intent? You don't, directly. But if there's a pattern of her manufacturing incidents rather than reacting to real ones, a judge notices that pattern fast, especially against a father with no prior record and a clean custody history. She pulled out a legal pad. I want you documenting every pickup, every drop-off, time-stamped, ideally with a witness or camera confirming it. I want copies of every text exchange between you and Sarah going back to the divorce. And Ryan, I want you finding out exactly why Diane made that call. She won't talk to me. Then find someone who'll talk to her. That night, I called my sister, Claire, who'd stayed close with Diane even after the divorce. Close enough that Diane still invited her to Thanksgiving. Claire, I need a favor, I said, and I need you to trust me on why. Claire called Diane the next day, casual, warm, the way sisters-in-law do when nothing's wrong between them, and steered the conversation slowly toward Sarah, toward the house, toward the strange police visit that had happened 3 days earlier. She called me back that evening, her voice tight. Ryan, she let something slip. I don't think she meant to. What did she say? She said, and I'm quoting her exactly, Sarah told me it would help if it looked like there'd been an incident there. I didn't think it would go this far. With the police and everything, I thought they'd just come knock and leave. I sat down slowly at my kitchen table. She admitted Sarah told her to make the call? She didn't realize what she was admitting, Ryan. I don't think she fully understands what Sarah's actually trying to do with the custody filing. I think Diane genuinely believes she was just helping her daughter look out for herself during a difficult time. I don't think she knows she just handed you a weapon. Will she say that again? On the record? Claire was quiet for a moment. I don't know. She trusts me. I don't know if she trusts a courtroom. Claire, I need you to ask her one more time, recorded this time, with her knowledge and consent so it's usable. I need her to understand that what she said to Sarah's lawyer isn't going to protect Sarah. It's going to end up costing her the very thing she thinks she's protecting. You want me to convince my own aunt to testify against her daughter. I want you to give her the chance to tell the truth before a judge finds out she lied for someone else's benefit, I said. What she does with that chance is hers to decide. Diane agreed to meet with Corinne 2 weeks later, not because Claire convinced her outright, but because Corinne's investigator had, in the meantime, pulled phone records showing 3 calls between Sarah and Diane in the hour before the break-in call, plus a text from Sarah reading, in part, "Make it sound urgent. Tell them you think someone's in there. Don't say my name unless they ask." Confronted with her own words in black and white, Diane broke down almost immediately in Corinne's conference room. She told me it was for her own protection, Diane said, twisting a tissue in her hands, refusing to look at me across the table. She said you'd been difficult about the house, that she needed something on record showing she'd had concerns. I didn't know she was going to use it to try to take Eli away from you. Diane, I said quietly, you called the police on me in my own home. You knew I owned that house. You've known it for years. I know. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I thought I was helping my daughter. I didn't think about what it would actually do to you. Or to Eli. Will you tell a judge exactly what you just told me? Corinne asked gently. Because right now, Ryan is facing an emergency custody hearing, built partly on a lie your daughter asked you to help tell. Diane sat with that for a long, silent moment, and when she finally nodded, it was slow, and it looked like it cost her everything she had left. Yes, she said. I'll tell the truth. I should have from the start. The custody hearing happened 3 weeks later, and Sarah's attorney built exactly the narrative I'd expected. A father, allegedly unstable, a police visit as evidence, a mother simply concerned for her grandson's safety. Then Corinne called Diane to the stand. Miss Foster, Corinne began, Did you personally witness anyone breaking into the residence at 214 Larkspur Lane on the day in question? No, Diane said quietly. Did you have any reason to believe Ryan Callahan did not legally own that home? No, I've known he owned it for years. Then why did you call the police, Miss Foster? Diane's hands shook on the witness stand. My daughter asked me to. She texted me instructions on exactly what to say. She told me it would help her case. The courtroom went very still. Sarah's face, from where I sat, had gone the color of the wall behind her. Objection, Sarah's attorney said. Too late, too weak, the objection already meaningless against what had just been said aloud in front of the judge. I'll allow it to stand on the record, the judge said, her expression hardening. Miss Foster, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Diane looked at me for the first time since taking the stand. I'm sorry, Ryan. I let my daughter use me to hurt you and Eli both. I should have known better. The judge didn't take long to rule. This court finds no credible evidence of instability, danger, or erratic behavior on the part of Mr. Callahan, she said, reviewing the file in front of her. What this court does find is a documented pattern of manufactured evidence, including a falsified emergency call to law enforcement undertaken with the specific intent of manipulating a custody proceeding. The emergency modification request is denied in full. The existing joint custody arrangement remains in effect. Take my son and my house both. Corinne squeezed my shoulder once we were in the hallway. That went about as well as it possibly could have, Ryan. It shouldn't have had to go anywhere at all, I said. She agreed to that house being mine in writing. She had a mother willing to lie to the police for her over a fight that was already settled. Some people don't stop when a fight's settled, Corinne said. They just wait for a new angle. Diane called me 2 weeks later, her voice small on the phone in a way I'd never heard from her in the 8 years I'd known her. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I just needed you to know I understand what I did. Sarah's barely speaking to me since the hearing. She says I ruined everything by telling the truth. You didn't ruin anything, Diane. She built something that was always going to collapse the moment someone told the truth about it. I still love my daughter, she said. But I love Eli too. And I think I finally understood, sitting in that courtroom, that I couldn't keep loving one by hurting the other. I appreciate you saying that, I said, and I meant it, even through everything. Eli still asks about you. If you want to see him sometime, supervised, through the custody schedule, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Thank you, Ryan, she said, and I heard something in her voice loosen, just slightly, for the first time since this whole thing started. That's more grace than I probably deserve. Probably, I agreed. But Eli deserves a grandmother who tells him the truth. That matters more to me than settling a score with you. Sarah and I finalized a revised custody agreement 4 months later, one with clearer boundaries and a mediator built into any future disputes, so no filing could ever again reach a courtroom without both of us first sitting across from a neutral third party. She never fully apologized, not in the way I think either of us needed. Some people simply move forward without ever looking back at what they broke to get there. I still live in the house on Larkspur Lane, the one Diane's phone call almost cost me, in ways that had nothing to do with the deed itself. Eli has his own room there now, decorated with the dinosaurs he loves. And some mornings, I stand in that kitchen with my coffee, in the exact spot where 2 officers once asked me to prove I belonged in my own home, and feel something settle in my chest that took a long time to earn back. Diane sees Eli twice a month now, supervised, easy, no tension in it anymore that I can find. She sent me a card last month, just a few lines, thanking me for the chance to still be part of my son's life despite everything. I keep it in a drawer, not because I've forgotten what she did, but because people occasionally surprise you by choosing truth once it's already cost them everything else. I think about that first knock on my door often, the confusion in the officer's voice, the cold certainty in my own chest that something was deeply wrong before I even understood what. I don't regret keeping calm that day instead of losing my temper on my own porch. I regret only that it took a courtroom to make the truth impossible to ignore. So I'll leave you with this. If someone you once loved tried to use the people who loved you both against you, would you have the patience to let the truth surface on its own? Or would you, like I almost did, let your anger speak first and lose the very case the truth was waiting to win for you?